the August 16th meeting of the Harwich Conservation Commission being held at the Don B. Griffin Room at Town Hall in Harwich. This is a hybrid meeting tonight, and participation can be on the telephone or through the GoToMeeting application for instructions for accessing the meeting online or on telephone. Please see the agenda that is posted on the town website. So we're going to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item on tonight's agenda is a request for a determination of applicability for 49 Sequatum Road, map 101, parcel T2-2, for the installation of a new septic system, removal of a paved driveway.
Yes, good evening. My name's Matt Farrell from J.M. O'Reilly and Associates. Yeah, this property's the existing condition. It's served by an existing two-bedroom dwelling and an existing cesspool septic systems. The owners, David and Mary Ann Schubert, bought the property this year and are dealing with the septic upgrade. So what you see in front of you is a proposed septic upgrade. The new leach field will be 78 feet from the bordering vegetated wetland along Long Pond. And yes, the proposal is to remove the paved driveway that's rather steep and just puts runoff right into the road and put a flatter gravel driveway in. And then there's just an access walkway to get from the driveway to the front door. That's pretty much it. There is a 24-inch diameter oak tree that's kind of right underneath where the leach field is going that's going to have to come out. And the plan has notes to that. The project had to go before the Board of Health, or had to go for an in-house variance with the Board of Health, and that we got the approval today. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions the Board Commission has.
Thank you. Amy?
Well, one of my questions was, what did you mean by pervious driveway? And you said gravel.
Yep.
So it wouldn't be a problem if we just condition no hardening?
Sure.
Okay. Yep, it's an improvement. The property's across the street from Long Pond. The house is currently on a cesspool and upgrading to a Title V. It's about 79 feet from a wetland. There's really not an option to get it outside the 100-foot buffer zone on this property. If you look at your site plan in the lot, it's extremely tight. They're removing one tree, but I think, there's far better benefit in putting in a new functioning Title V than a cesspool. So I would recommend approval with a -3 determination, and that you condition that the driveway be gravel and that no fertilizers or other chemical application within the 100-foot buffer zone happen on the property.
Okay, thank you. Do we have questions? Wayne?
I have no questions. Something like this where it's better than what's there is fine with me.
Jim?
No questions.
No questions.
Sophia?
No questions.
I have no questions or comments.
Okay.
Anyone in the audience have questions or comments? Hearing none. Can I hear a motion?
Yes, I will move that we approve the request for determination of applicability for 49 Sequantum Road, map 101, parcel T2-2, with the condition that the replacement driveway be gravel and that no fertilizer be used on the property.
I'll second.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, folks.
6-0. Next on the agenda, we have a request for determination of applicability for 38 Martha's Lane, map 43, parcel B6-6, for removing an existing deck, hardscape, constructing a new deck, patio with hot tub and retaining wall.
Good evening, Dan Croto from Moran Engineering and Phil Cheney, the landscape architect, here for the owners who are also present for any questions. So this is looking for review of removing the existing deck and steps and walk-in back and constructing the new deck with a patio, and they want to put a hot tub on the patio, and to have a flat area for the patio. They will want to construct a 30-inch high retaining wall. Closest spot to the delineated wetland is 81 feet to the corner of the new deck. The wetlands appears to be an old abandoned part of a cranberry bog. So they're looking for adding some deck and patio right up next to the house, and then as mitigation, next to the 50-foot wetland buffer and what's now cleared grass area, adding the required 2-to-1 mitigation. So they're adding about 200 square feet, and they're looking at mitigation of about 400 square feet. So Phil drew the landscaping plan, which was submitted with the project site plan. And with that, I guess I'll just open up for questions for us.
Thank you. The project is within the 50 to 100 foot buffer. It's a modest increase in square footage, about 200 or 197 square feet. The closest point of new work is 81 feet from the wetland, and they would like to put on a new larger deck, retaining wall, and put a hot tub in with patio. As mitigation, there is an area of lawn at roughly the 50-foot buffer, the 50 to 60-foot line area. They're proposing to replant with 400 square feet of native shrubs, and I looked at the plan that was done by Mr. Cheney here, and I think the species and the quantities would be appropriate for this area. There are species that don't mind a little bit of shade, a little bit of damper conditions. So I think that those would work nicely there and add to the buffer zone, to that wetland. The one thing that was noticed on site visits was that there was a little bit of debris dumping down the path towards the wetland, maybe some composting, and I would just recommend that cease. Whatever's there, just let it rot, but cease just doing that, as well as no, and they're not doing it anyways, no fertilizers or chemicals on the property within our jurisdiction either. I would recommend approval with those conditions with the -3.
Okay. Sophia?
Sure, I just have one question, which is the area around the new retaining wall. I was curious if, what would be planted back in there?
The area is, it's only about 2 feet or so, so it'd be more something for either annuals or perennials in that space there. It's really not big enough for shrubs.
Gotcha. Like where the Alberta spruce is now, kind of around there?
Yes, exactly, yeah, right. That's where that is now.
I guess I would just be curious if it was perennials, if maybe it would be reasonable to ask to run the list by Amy?
Yeah, and nothing's planned at the moment, so when that time comes, the owners can talk to Amy about that.
Okay. Otherwise, it looks great, and I love the Cape Cod lawn. It's great out there.
Mark?
No questions, thank you.
No questions.
No questions.
No questions.
Anyone in the audience care to comment or ask questions? Hearing none.
Okay, hearing none, I would like to make a motion that we approve the determination of applicability for 38 Martha's Lane, map 43, parcel B6-6, with a -3 determination, and under the condition that if the water in the hot tub is to ever be drawn down or removed, that it be trucked off-site and not dumped any place within the wetland or buffer zone, and that no fertilizer, pesticides, or herbicides be used on the lot within the conservation jurisdiction.
Second.
Further discussion. I have one point which also, one of the conditions should be the debris in the 50-foot buffer, that the compost pile and the brush dumping needs to stop, and that should be left to rot as it is.
And I'll accept that as a condition amending my motion.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. So
Those
for
are all
the
that
next
easy, huh?
item on the agenda, I am going to recuse myself and request that the vice chair, Mr. Atkinson, chair the meeting for that segment.
I will be happy to do that, Jeff.
I will come get you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda, and we'll wait till the chairman leaves the room, is the continuation of the public hearing on the request for a notice of intent for the town of Harwich, Skinnaquit Pond, map 25, proposed alum treatment of the pond. Amy, would you like to?
Sure. I'm Amy Usowski, Conservation Administrator, representing the town of Harwich on this application. This is a continued hearing from last meeting. The commission had a few questions, and we were also waiting to hear from the Mass Division of Marine Fisheries, and we got that at 5 o'clock today, so I printed it off and gave it to each of you. Mr. Chair, if you'd like me to give you each of you a few minutes to read it.
If you could do that, but also, Amy, if you could summarize.
I could
the
give you a
plan.
highlight, yep,
Yeah, if you could give us the highlights for the record.
sure. What do you want me to give you a minute first, or?
Why don't you give us a minute
Okay.
first, and then we will proceed. Okay, if everybody's had at least a chance to skim over this, Amy, would you proceed and just review
Sure.
the highlights of the letter, please?
Sure. Well, as Skinnaquit Pond is considered a fish run for both alewife and American eel, this application did require review by the Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries. In the letter, they gave a basic background of alluding to kind of the history of alum being used in similar type of applications. They offer the following comments, which the commission in the past has incorporated into an order of conditions should the commission approve it. One is that no work be done between March 15th and June 30th of any year. That is the alewife period where they're coming up the run. They talk about aluminum being toxic at certain quantities to certain aquatic life, which is 10 milligrams per liter or higher. There are areas of the pond that are proposed to be treated higher than that. It also can be toxic if the pH reaches undesirable levels, which is considered a change in Severn Standard Units, according to the report that Ken Wagner, the expert, did for this. So what Division of Marine Fisheries recommends is that whoever the chosen contractor is that a monitoring plan is developed before, during, and after treatments to ensure that water conditions remain suitable for aquatic life. That was a standard condition for Hinkley Pond as well. Then there's a couple of comments about a discrepancy in the application volume between the WRS, the consultant's report, and the bid or the RFP. And we can definitely, and it should be approximately 100 grams per meter squared. And it's in the bid documents, it says 147, that needs to be changed. Also, it looks like the town used the Skinnequit date in the bid document of 2018, it needs to be 2023. They agree with the town's conditions that were in the RFP about spill prevention and having a contingency plan in place, and regarding the application ratios. That's essentially it. Division of Marine Fisheries typically does not say you should approve, you should deny. It says, here's some things for you to consider. And that's what they did. And after the last meeting, there were a couple of comments from the commissioners that I did not have the answers to. So I did reach out to Ken Wagner, the consultant of WRS. They were in your site summaries, but he talked about the oxygen demand. The oxygen data was from existing data. The town of Harwich has been collecting data, including oxygen data, on Skinnequit Pond for a number of years, and that's where he got that data from. And there was a lot of talk last time about past versus current phosphorus inputs. And what Ken wanted to make clear is that he's not saying that there's not currently phosphorus going into the system from people's, lawns and septics and things like that. But he does believe that a majority of what's in basically the pit at the bottom of that pond, it's not just phosphorus, it's a lot of organic material that's been there for a very long time. And he does believe that a lot of what's in the pond is recirculating and cycling from that. But certainly, people's practices around the pond aren't helping either. There is a representative from the association here tonight if you have any questions for her after. And in regards to the other question about needing a 401 water quality certification, Ken weighed in on that, said it would be really the first that he's ever heard of this. I have not heard anything more from the state of Massachusetts about them requiring that. My guess is we're not going to find out for sure until the commission moves on this project, and then they see a permit and get to actually weigh in on it then. So it's unfortunately a risk we have to take, but he's fairly confident it would be a brand new practice for them to start doing that. So, if you have any questions, I'll happily try to answer, and from the Wash Association as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Amy. I think we'll start with questions or comments from the commissioners. Sophia?
I don't believe I have any questions or comments.
Okay. Mark?
I have no questions.
Brad? It's unfair
We'll give
to have
Brad a
you-
minute.
I'll come back to you. I'll let you get settled
All
first.
right, thanks.
Alan?
Yeah, I just had a few questions, comments. I'm reading this report here, and I'm still trying to understand all this bloom stuff in the town of Howard, and what contributes to it. Is it houses, nitrogen, is it sediment? Is it the pollution from the groundwater from septic systems. And then the third sentence here says that the report from the WRS suggests that historical operations of a now defunct cranberry bog was a primary source of excessive phosphorus. Those bogs have been out of commission for 70, 80 years. And I don't know if they used the kind of fertilizers we have today with that much phosphorus. So I would like, I'm interested in how does that, just because it's the big elephant in the room at that location, the old bog. So standing from that point, I don't know that connection. And then you did enlighten me when you said at the southern part there with the sediment where it flows in, that the organic matter that's been sitting there decaying. That's what I think is our problem, is a lot of that stuff is in the ponds and the sediment. I guess the word they use here is surficial sediments.
Correct.
So, it's interesting to me to just find out what's going on. And then when you don't have a lot of rain in the season, they tend to bloom up. When you have more rain, you may have sun. I don't know what the condition is of West Reservoir. I think it's gone down. I don't know if
Still
it's
not
changed.
great, but it's still
Right,
considered.
so there's a lot of factors to all of
Yep.
these things, and you can't just pin it on one item. But it tends to seem that we always push towards the large area or large bogs or something. I'm only saying that from my own standpoint of cranberry bogs, but I know that these bogs haven't been in operation for a very, very, very long time. So I just wanted to say that.
May I?
Amy, that's a
So,
question.
I'm no expert, but from my reading of all of this, phosphorus can stay in the system for a really long time. A lot of nutrients can, they can recycle each other. So, you think about the bottom of the pond, essentially, it's all this leaf litter, it's stuff that's coming from septics, it's stuff that may have started coming from many, many years ago. Because Skinnequit is such a bowl, and it has one particular central area that's particularly deep, it just sits there, it hasn't gone anywhere, and it just continually recycles and recycles. So I think it's a variety of contributions. And I know that the association is working with the people who live around the pond to improve their practices of what they're doing on their properties. Phosphorus is what's critical for freshwater ponds, nitrogen more so for saltwater estuaries, but both contribute to algal blooms. So,
Are there any geese that hang out in that pond on a year-round basis?
Are there any what?
Geese,
Come on up, Ann.
Canadian geese?
Yeah, geese, we have tons of birds and geese.
No,
and
there's
we have a
part of
lot
your problem right
migratory-
there.
Migratory birds, yes,
Yeah.
geese are always on our docks pooping.
Yeah.
if you wanna speak, you do have to come up.
I'm sorry.
No problem, it's just they can't hear you on the mic from
Okay.
anybody who might be listening in the audience.
Before
Okay,
we go on
Ann
to the
Helgen,
next
President of
question,
WASH.
Alan, do you have any further questions?
No, I'm just trying to educate myself too and to learn these things, and then a lot of it just comes into common sense, things don't flush, things stay, sediment, you look at a mud puddle in your yard and watch what happens, so it's a good thing, I'm glad we're working on these things.
Okay, Wayne?
No, I was just asking if there's a population of geese there.
We get a lot of migratory birds, including geese.
Oh, that's part of the problem right
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
I think that is part
Geese
of
do
the
what they do. And,
And Ann did mention it, but this is Ann Helgen, the president of the
WASH.
Watershed Association of South Harwich.
My only point is, the last time I mentioned that it was in the report that it's basically said that no matter what you did, it wasn't gonna make any difference. But then Brad kind of enlightened me on that it's kind of a Band-Aid approach, but I guess it's better than nothing. So I'm gonna be in favor of it myself.
Thank you. Brad?
Yeah, sorry I'm late, folks. I got caught in traffic at the canal. And, so, yeah, I got a couple questions. I guess the big thing for me is the monitoring plan. And, we did have a monitoring plan for Hinckley's Pond. I don't think we've seen that report, have we, as a commission?
We saw one of the initial ones. I could definitely get you, in terms of the, what has happened to Hinckley afterwards?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think I've given you one or two, but I'm more than happy to re-provide them.
Yeah, I had hoped to see that. And I think this one is proposing 3 years of monitoring. And so I think that we would like to see, I think the commission would like to see monitoring similar to Hinckley's.
Yeah.
And maybe extend beyond 3 years for certain important parameters, such as Secchi disc, chlorophyll A, total phosphorus. I don't think it's necessary to do all the monitoring after 3 years. But I think for those key
Okay.
parameters, but I would like to look at the Hinckley's data and kind of have that drive our decisions as to what they found. So I think if we can condition monitoring to fall along those lines, that would be favorable for me. Did we settle on the time of year? We talked about the fall.
Yep, so Division Marine Fisheries said not, and sorry, this literally came in at 5 o'clock today. They said not between March and 15th and June, and the plan for the town and for Wash is October of this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Division of Marine Fisheries was silent on the fall.
They were, yep.
And for me, I'd like to see this happen after the juvenile herring have certainly left. And so I'm not certain October 1st is enough time. What do you think, any discussion about, with the applicants or the consultant about October 15th or October 30th?
I have not spoken with Ken about later.
Yeah.
But it's something we can certainly look into. The key thing is that the water temps have to be above 40.
Right.
And there is not a contractor yet for
Yep.
this. So it's certainly something I think the town can seriously consider, because we wouldn't want there to be an impact on the juvenile herring either. So if we could do end of October into November, the beginning part of November.
I think I'd propose October 15th.
Okay,
That-
I think that's very doable,
People think that's all right.
after October 15th.
For me, there's some question marks on, what happens with Allen. It certainly sequesters the phosphorus for a certain amount of time, and that's a good thing, so I think that's positive. The question marks for me are when things happen and the flock goes to the bottom, what kind of impact do you have on organisms that are down the bottom? That's, to me, a little bit unanswered. There's been a lot of scientific work that has looked at this superficially, and they're finding their short-term impacts. It's not clear how long those impacts go on. But I think for this location, it's worth trying, as long as we can monitor it, reduce those short-term impacts by pushing this into the season when there's less things that are active. I think it's probably a good idea. So those are the two things I wanted to condition. And I did ask a couple questions last time. Ken Wagner's, he's not here, right?
No, in my report, I asked the questions of him and he responded. So in
Yeah.
my site summaries, that's,
Right. I did read that, and I didn't find it very
Yeah.
satisfying.
you can't help that.
Yeah, almost a little bit flip,
Yeah.
We should read the material, and so I read the material, and I had questions.
Yeah.
And I read the material again, and I still have the same questions. But I don't think they're that important towards our purview of what we need to decide tonight. I think it was just more clarifying some of the background information. So I think I do support it with those conditions I discussed.
Okay, and I have no additional comments or questions. I see there's nobody in the audience, but I'm not sure if there's anybody online, and if there is, if anybody online has any questions or comments, but I don't hear anything. So then, hearing no additional
I would just like to make a couple comments, if that's all right.
Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
yeah. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the different questions that were raised a couple weeks ago. My understanding on that all of the charts in Ken's write-up are data-driven. We provided data from the PALS program that we've collected for the PALS program from 2002 to 2019. And then he did some testing when he was here in the spring of 2022. And I think that was my understanding, where the data came from. Regarding the nutrient load, the level of, or the layer of anoxia that was found, they found parts of it that were more than 9 feet deep, and that indicates that this isn't just development. I would point out that regarding development, there's about 20 to 22 homes that have direct access to the pond or on the pond. 75 to 80% of them are seasonal users and use it less than 3 months of the year. That's an estimate, not a data-driven, but just knowing that there's only 4 or 5 permanent residents, and they tend to be retirees without full families that are using it, the year-round residents. There are 4 or 5, and there's 1 or 2 people that are using those homes year-round. So the level of, that it just indicates that it's not as much that you might, as you might receive if you had a higher percentage of fully occupied houses. Of course, during COVID, that probably changed a little bit. I know we stayed down there longer and that kind of thing. So we did have a very bad bloom in 1998 where it killed off many things, bullfrogs, freshwater mussels, which I have not seen return to the pond. The herring levels, although we don't count them, it appeared that they dropped just from when you watch the herring run and the herring going up. Killed a lot of fish. We had dead fish all over the pond and cleaning it up. That was attributed to the cranberry bog, and this may be where some of this comes from. At that time, even though it was never substantiated, there was a containment of the bog that broke, and there was some thought that perhaps that leftover or some sort of higher percentage of nutrient load in that particular area caused that. But I don't know if that's true or not. It was never substantiated, but I just wanted to point that out. 10 years ago, Skinnecook Pond was found to be one of the most impaired ponds in Harwich as assessed by CDM Smith for the wastewater plan. And that's part of why we're asking for this, because there is a recommendation that Skinnecook, along with a couple of other ponds, some of which have been addressed, be addressed to improve the water quality as part of the wastewater, because we're not sewering at this point. And so we saw this as a short-term, relative to sewering. We're not going to see sewering for 40 or more years, probably. And we support your comments from last session about moving South Harwich up to the sewering, because I think that's a very important, and the Red River Estuary is a very important part of South Harwich. And then, what else? Oh, regarding public access, I just wanted to, we've done a little bit of research. One of our members looked at all the homes that are within a walkable distance of the pond, of the public access, not just the pond, but the public access. And there's about 70 properties, and we do see people from those properties using sup boards, kayaks. We see fishermen, some of whom are from the pond or from those areas, some of whom have gone onto a fishing site and seen that it's, a fishing pond. And as mentioned, and the other aspect of this is we looked at the land management plan that was done a while ago, probably 10 or more years ago, and they did not recommend additional trails or any additional access because all of the town resource is designated wetlands, and so they said that no trails within the resource or recreational use is recommended. They did at that time say, unless the town buys another piece of property that was for sale at the time, and the town chose not to do that at that point. And then, as mentioned in the application, conservation, we've worked with Amy and we worked with Heinz for many years, and we've known from day one and have encouraged that they clean up the path a little bit. There was poison ivy for a while. I think maybe someone got rid of some of that.
We got rid of some of it, but
it comes back.
It's pretty vicious.
Yeah. And try to, make it a little bit more accessible. But there's not really any parking. It's not a very policeable place to add parking for long-term. So that's that. And then another thing that seemed to be a little confusing about what the approvals had been, and I just wanted to point out that the Conservation Commission did unanimously approve the support of the CPC, Skinnecook Pond CPC application on September 21st of 2022, and submitted a letter of support that went into our application along with letters of support from the Recreation Department, the Health Department, the Wastewater Department, and the Harwich Conservation Trust, and obviously the property owners also. So, as I said earlier, the remediation of this pond is also in line with the comprehensive wastewater plan. So, although you're not getting some of the things like public access that you might have gotten in Hinckley's, we are doing something that is on the priority list of the town here. And then I'm happy to review WASH, the guidelines that we provide. I write, I've probably done more emails this year just because of the application, but in every email, we remind people to get their septic tanks pumped every year or 2 years to, keep their buffer zone of plants, to not use phosphorus-based personal products, cleaning products, fertilizer, any fertilizer on their, anything that's close to the pond, and a number of other things. We actually had a presentation at our recent annual meeting about all of the things you should do. So that is another thing. I wanted to also just mention, when I was talking about the pond, a lot of it already does have the 2022 houses. Most of that, I would say, the majority, I don't know if it's 51% or 65%, or 75%, but have a buffer zone of plants that also filter. So that is, and then of course Wash has spent a lot of money and I think this project has really sort of energized the pond owners in terms of wanting to, they know what it's like to see a cyanobacteria bloom and not be able to use the pond for 6 weeks in the summer or whatever, and I think it's really re-energized a lot of the property owners, and we had a higher turnout at our annual meeting, and so I'm optimistic that people will be taking care of the pond in the future.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to me.
Your comments sort of generated a further comment that I would like to make at this point that I made at the last meeting. And that was that before the last meeting, Amy took me down to see where the public path was down to the pond. It was completely grown over. It didn't even look like a path. And my concern is that we're spending public money here, and to spend public money in an area where there is little to no public access raises a lot of concerns with me. Because basically what it looks like to me is that we're spending public money for the benefit of private landowners, which I don't agree with.
I understand that point of
Okay,
view.
And so that was my comment with regard to.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's not a way to provide that public access,
Well,
and
there
so.
is, Amy informed me that there is a public easement down to the pond that is completely overgrown.
The last time I was there, it was not, because
It's
a lot of the
not-
owners actually go down there
Yeah,
and
it's-
clear it when they come. I have not been there recently, so it's possible that it became overgrown, but when we looked, I think,
Yeah,
did you go with
it's
me
not,
last
it's
year,
not
or-
completely overgrown. It's
Yeah.
a small path, but it needs to get weed whacked again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Okay.
also the base of the path there, before you actually get to the water itself, there's a pretty sizable bordering vegetated wetland where we don't want to alter.
Right.
And so we just kind of let people, that part, we just kind of let people walk on it and tramp, haven't done any additional work down there, but we can certainly, the top of the path, because it's such poison ivy and I'm highly allergic, it'd be something I'd
Yes, me
probably
too.
I would ask DPW to assist with, but
Okay, thank you very much. I
Yeah.
mean,
and I understand your point on the public access and public money, and I guess I also see this as meeting other priorities that are set by, or were set in my read of the town plans, which are to preserve and protect and enhance places that there is habitat and herring runs and that kind of thing for the town. And if we let Skinnequit Pond degrade further, then I think we do run the risk of not supporting some of the habitat and denizens of the pond in the future.
and I completely agree with those priorities.
Yep.
But again, my concern is
Yep.
that, if the town is going to spend public money,
Yep.
no matter how limited it is, there should be recognizable public access so that the public can enjoy, to at least some extent, the natural
And we've known that
resources.
we've known that since we started, because Amy and Heinz both pointed that out to us, and we've talked to them about improving that public access on I guess it will have to be on an annual basis or something to figure that out, how to do that, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's my main concern.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other comments or questions?
Let me say one, Mr.
Go
Chairman.
ahead, Alan.
What is this, how many acres is that pond? Do we know
I'm
the
sorry, I have
size?
terrible
How many
hearing.
acres size is that pond? Is it a great pond?
It's about 18 acres, the size
So
of,
it's not considered a great pond?
It is, anything over 10.
anything over 10 is a
Alright,
great
well,
pond, but,
alright.
but the state gets more involved if it's over 25, is that right? Or no, okay, whatever.
Well, just to go to Jim's
Yeah.
comments, and that's where I'm going, is that it is a great pond, and it is recognized through the state. Now, the access issue, I understand what you're saying and all that stuff, but, you know, the folks that live around there, they all pay taxes, it's all that, and it's a betterment of the area, so I can understand that. I respect what you're saying on that, but I do feel that it is a great pond, which falls underneath the state of Massachusetts, so.
And we did try to research getting state money or other federal funds, because freshwater ponds are a big issue now, but we weren't able to find anything that was applicable.
That's all I have, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, is there a positive motion on this matter?
I'll make the motion.
Go ahead, Brad.
I move that we approve the notice of intent for the town of Harwich, Skinnequit Pond, map 25, proposal to treat the pond with alum. And the conditions I would like to put into that motion would be a monitoring program that mirrors what was required for Hinckley's Pond. I don't have those specifications in front of me, but for 3 years to repeat that monitoring, and then for 3 years after that, continue with similar measurements of key parameters: total phosphorus, Secchi disc, chlorophyll A, and water column dissolved oxygen. And we can have discussion on that. And the second condition I'd like to put in is that the treatment would begin after October 15th.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, before we take a vote on that motion, I would like to propose an amendment to that motion. And that amendment would be that the town and the Watershed Association work to improve the public access to that pond. And I'd like to make that as an amendment to your motion, Brad.
Okay, before I do so, I guess a little discussion. Is that germane to this notice of intent, the public access question? I agree it's important, but is it germane to what we're ruling on?
We are voting on the treatment of the pond itself. The public access, well, and this is how I review it, while I do think it's important, it was voted upon by town meeting to support this. And I think from the ecological standpoint, unfortunately, the access does not have a part in the environmental review of this project.
I tend to agree. I really agree with your fundamental point on public access for this. And I do have concerns over the longevity of alum treatment, so that's why I really feel strongly about the monitoring. So Jim, I'm not sure it's our purview to condition this based on public access. So I don't know.
I will, I mean, well, I don't know, if I will assure you that we will work together, the new natural resource director, when they come on, and myself and Wash, to maintaining that better and coming up with a program. So that's something whether or not it's in writing or not, I will work towards.
No, and I'm sure you will, Amy. I have every confidence
know.
that you will. And just to answer Brad's question, I think where, to me, it becomes in our preview, both as a commission of the town of Harwich and as a citizen of the town of Harwich, that we're spending public money on this matter. Now, granted, it was voted by town meeting, so it's approved by town meeting, and I understand that, but we're using public money in this application.
How do others feel? If you don't mind me asking that, I just, I'm not certain it's appropriate for us to condition the project on a public access piece. I like the idea of getting better public access there, so I don't know if folks want to have discussion on the amendment proposal.
I would agree with you, Brad, if I may, through the chair, that it's probably not purview to this right now. I think it's a good thing what Jim's saying, we really don't even we don't even know the real easement area. We don't have it identified. I mean, they just carte blanche say we need access. We don't even know where it is, so obviously there has to be more work done on that part to solidify that and put it on the ground. That could be another discussion that we can continue as a town to move forward on that. Then my only other real question, how are the folks getting in there to treat the pond? How are the folks getting in there to treat the pond? Where are they accessing it from?
Was a treatment access.
Oh, the treatment access? One of the neighbors on Uncle Vinnie's Road has a perfect place to launch the boat from. We need it sloping down and has some open area that they can launch the boat. There's discussion about actually the alum truck being at either the public access, or there are other properties that could, although this person also said they could use their loan for that. So we have to work through that project. And we are working with the town of Harwich to remove the solar bee before, that's a wash cost, but we will remove the solar bee before this alum treatment takes place. I just talked to the person that's going to be doing that today.
Where is this public access,
At
exactly?
the end of Ocean, on the northeast side. So it's actually, what's it, Lake and Ocean?
Yes,
corner?
Lake and Ocean's corner.
There's a
It's a
cul-de-sac.
little cul-de-sac there.
It's right there?
Mhm. And there's a path, there's a sign, that's where we posted if there's an algae bloom.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a path that winds down there.
Okay, well, if there's no further discussion, there was no second on my proposed amendment, so that amendment, I think, then just ends up dying. And so I will then call for a vote on the original motion that Brad made that was seconded. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. So the motion passes and
Thank you.
you're ready to proceed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Amy.
You're very welcome. Thank you. We'll get John.
Amy, is it possible when we look at the order, next meeting, if we could get the Hinkley's?
Yep, I'll put that with you.
So we can fine tune that monitoring.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I agree, it should be longer than 3 years.
Do the herons spawn very well in there?
The run has been really low for decades. When I was a kid, I grew up right across the street. We harvested there all the time because there was so many fish. We didn't really have to go to the Herring River in West Harwich all the time. There were that many fish.
Yeah, there's a ton of them down there.
It was established as a herring run in 1836 by a Boston company,
Yeah.
and that's when the processing plant was there. But it was only active for like a couple decades before it wasn't profitable. And so, but the run was still strong for a while. My guess is the anoxia is limiting the amount of spawning and nursery habitat in the pond. If I were to make one guess as to why the run is where it's at.
Yeah,
There's habitat limitation occurring.
yeah.
Okay, John, it was approved, so we can move on to the next item on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So, give me a moment here.
We've got 2 orders.
So the next item on the agenda is an order of conditions for 33 Snow Inn Road, map 8, parcel P3. Proposed addition to existing single-family dwelling.
Let me know if you have any comments on the special conditions, please.
So if there are no comments, people need time here, or?
I'm prepared to make a motion if there are no further comments.
Okay.
Okay, I'll move that we close the public hearing and issue the order of conditions for 33 Snow Inn Road, map 8, parcel P3. 3.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is order of conditions for 109 Riverside Drive, map 4, parcel A3-A2. I have one minor comment. Special condition number 7, slop should be slope.
John, I haven't powered up my laptop or seen this. Could you look at the special condition on the mitigation?
I have it right here. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, sure.
As mitigation for the dredging, the owner shall see 30 bushels of a mix of quahog and oyster seed. This only needs to be done one time and shall be done the year the dock is installed. The owner may undertake this on their own and provide written proof that it was completed, or they may pay the town $2,000 to the town of Harwich, or they may pay $2,000 to the town of Harwich, and the town will put it in our shellfish fund and complete the seeding for you.
Okay. But was there a component on plantings? I mean, we asked for that.
Underneath the platform leading to the pier on the slope of the coastal bank shall be planted with applicable native grasses such as rye and fescue, coastal panic grass, and poverty grass. If possible, at the toe of the bank, some high tide bush shall be planted to help further stabilize the slope. Salt marsh shall be plugged underneath the dock as well as with Spartina alterniflora and Spartina patens. This planting shall be done in the same or next applicable growing season as work on the dock. Plantings that are not successful will be replaced. This will be something that we talk about at the start work meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So further stabilize the toe, not the slope. What my copy says.
That's right.
Okay. Okay.
No boat shall be docked on the landward side of the float. I know we were adamant about that. And monitoring as far as erosion rate. You wanted to see that. So that one is number 6. A monitoring report shall be submitted annually detailing the stability of the coastal bank and include notation and amount of any erosion and changes in vegetation on the slope of the coastal bank and in the salt marsh. Also, this shall contain, the wording is bad there, so I gotta fix that. This shall contain photos and measurements if needed to document erosion rate. This may be submitted electronically by September 1st, starting the year the dock is installed.
All set, Brad?
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments?
Okay, if there are no further comments, I will make a motion that we close the public hearing and authorize issuing the order of conditions for 109 Riverside Drive, map 4, parcel A3-A2.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unopposed?
Good job closing the hearings.
Thank you.
So next on the agenda is discussion and possible vote for, on new fence within buffer zone to a wetland at 435 Route 28.
This I would like to put on our next agenda. I've sent an enforcement letter out to them. It is clear that the new fence is closer to the wetland than the existing just barricades that they had there, and more extensive, and upon a little bit of review, there might also be an additional small shed structure in the back there. So an enforcement letter has gone out, and waiting to hear back from them. So I'd like to put this on for September 6th to give you an update and potentially have them in here.
Okay,
I have a couple other updates, if this is a good time for them.
please.
The next meeting, I'd like to have an executive session on, regarding 47 North Road. There has been some substantial damage after some significant rainstorms. The bulkhead has, breached, or basically collapsed into the river. We did give an emergency certification for minor measures to help prevent some future, erosion until we can come up with a game plan. But, and I am having a chat with council tomorrow because we also have the ongoing litigation with this property. So, we can put it on for September 6th. Probably just do it at the end of the meeting, so we don't need to start early. We'll just do it at the end. I wouldn't anticipate him coming. If we decide that that's smart, then he can come, but, I don't know what the next schedule looks like because the deadline for meeting is Monday, because we have a 5 Wednesday month, so we have 3 weeks between now and our next meeting. So I'm not sure what the agenda is gonna look like yet. But based on the past, few, it's been a little light, so. Had the county sheriff's department take their drone out and look over the island in the Herring River where we had report of some camping activity, a running of an illegal campground, potential farm. And because of the tree cover, they were not able to, they saw some tarps, they saw some activity, but they couldn't see everything. They wanted to look at it, take their thermal imaging device and look at it at night. So I didn't get a chance. I went away, I was on vacation, so I'm not sure if they actually did that, but they were looking for an opportunity to hone their skills. Next step is I'm gonna go out there with an officer, probably next week, hopefully. We've been working diligently on complete ownership. I'll probably have to chat with people who may know more, but we're 90% sure on most of the island. That little bog, though, we don't know what happened after the Robbins family out there.
No, it went to the town of Harwich, I told you that.
No, I know, but we can't find any documentation.
Helen Drake signed it over to the town before she passed away. She was
Yeah.
in a nursing home. There's no deed for that then? Did
Not
you
for the
find?
bog.
Well, that's
I'm
part of the
finding.
8 acres that she owned. It's all part of it. It's not a separate deed for the bog. You won't find that because it's not the case.
It encompassed it.
Yeah.
When was it last farmed?
Oh, God.
100
Long.
years.
Oh,
100 years.
100
yeah.
years ago, probably.
There's still plants. you know.
Is there really out there?
Yes.
Is there really? That's interesting, because I think the hurricane of 38 flooded it and killed it.
There's a breach,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah.
And then
But no,
James-
they're probably still on
Yeah.
some in there.
James Chase owned out there too.
We saw that.
That was my mother's great-great-grandfather.
Yeah, a lot of Hall, some Colson.
Yeah.
We have it compiled. I haven't read through everything. I came back today and Leisha is off starting tomorrow, so we
I'll do
quickly did some things. I'll share it with you
I'll
folks,
see if I
what
can
we
find
have.
Helen. Did you find Helen Drake's deed?
I sent it to you, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that
But it's
encompassed the whole
hard
thing.
because it only says, some of those deeds say to the east of the old road.
Right.
Based on a tree, things like
Yeah.
that, so it's really,
There used
how
to
do
be
you
an old
define it?
cut path up through the middle
The
of the.
cart path is still there, but like, what, there's something like a tree as a boundary line, it's like, okay, what tree?
Yeah,
Um,
tree marked on 4 sides,
yeah.
yeah, in 1812.
Right, exactly. So, well, we know he doesn't own it, so,
Yeah, the town owns it.
yeah. Anyway.
Yep.
So we'll be going out there soon, and, because aside from so the health department, just so you know, put a cease and desist out there, because according to the website, they were operating, a campground, and people were emailing, saying, oh, there are facilities, what about are there trash facilities, are there bathrooms, is there water, is there electricity? There's none of that.
They're renting campsites? Is
I didn't
that
tell
what
you guys this?
No, I don't think you did. You and I talked about it, but.
So let me back up a little bit. We had gotten reports from 2 sources that there might be a campground/farming activity happening on this island. There was a note on North Road south of the walking bridge saying, on our land, saying that this property is property of, I'm not gonna say what such and such, you know, not public, blah, blah, blah. Clearly on our land, that was clear. If you looked up the name of that was listed, it alerted you to the island across the way. If you go on Google Earth, they have tagged that island as being Supplier's Island.
Supplier's Island.
Yep,
Somebody recently,
can change it on Google Earth, which we can change it back, which I'm gonna do, that it's just nothing. So, we found, it was very easy to find out who the person was that was responsible for it. That, person, yeah, so, that person has, been contacted, and there's a little bit of a history with that person. And, the health department, because we've been looking, the town has, we had a big meeting, police, fire, me, health, assessing, administration, about all this, to figure out who can do what to tackle this, because the ownership was, Alan and Wayne have helped me out incredibly, but somewhat questionable, and it's, in order to kick people off the island, the administration feels we need to prove ownership. Or at least prove that that person doesn't own it. So at any rate, regardless of ownership, we can still go out and find if there's been any violations of the Wetlands Protection Act or Rivers Act, which we intend to do very soon. And the health department, because it is being marketed as a camping ground, has put a cease and desist and mailed that, and they have contacted the health department, because they told me of this today. There's a young person who's of age now, but was unknown evidently to his family that this was happening. So, yeah, because they don't have facilities, they don't have water, health, and they are advertising as a camping site, potentially even I would say charging. The health department put a cease and desist on them.
so what is the access? Is it only by
It's
water?
over the river, yeah. From the town property on North Road, there's a path almost at the end by the bridge, but south of it, where you can park, on the right-hand side.
And then they have to get out of the boat
then you
and
have to
traipse
paddle.
across the marsh and destroy the marsh grass.
Last year, we had some issues there with people people camping for fun. As far as I'm concerned, if you just clean up after yourselves,
So they're
you
trespassing.
know, they're, right, but they're trespassing.
breaking the law, they're
So that
trespassing.
was, but now they're trying to operate a business. They say it's a farm campground, have a farm camp experience.
Farming what?
Called Supply. What do you think that it might be?
Oh, I have an idea.
I don't think
It's
it's
been-
gotten.
It's not turnips,
No,
no.
I don't think it's
I'm not
really
going
gotten
there.
much started, but we will see, so,
Oh,
Um,
God.
That's funny,
make
it's
this
been a
stuff up.
camping spot for teenagers forever, but
Yeah.
they do it for a couple of years, tons of bugs. They grow up, they move on, and then another group might come in,
No.
but it's always been fleeting, you know?
well, this person contacted me several years ago about wanting to get ownership and try to start a farm out there. And I said, well, you don't have ownership, so, like, at the time, we didn't even know the town had any of it, I didn't. So, anyway, they're squatting and operating an illegal business.
Wow.
So, you can't make this stuff up.
I know,
Can't.
Keeps life interesting.
it's a beautiful spot.
Never, ever boring. Herring River has kept us very busy lately. That's, I think, all the, well, we still have a bloom in the West Reservoir. The numbers are coming down. I should have another report tomorrow. I don't think we'll be able to lift the precaution this week, but,
So is that testing being done by APCC?
yep. It's one of the town is contracted with them to test 10 ponds, and that's one of them. With that one, we've discovered it,
Right.
And I tested it and said, oh, at least I know it's this species. And then they confirmed the high concentration of that species. Then, let's see, all of our birds, except for a few least terns, have fledged. That's why we still have some symbolic fencing at Red River, but the barricades are gone. But we didn't have, we usually successfully fledge, you know, almost all birds, but this year it was only half. For reasons we don't know. We didn't see what had happened. I don't think it's people. What Leisha will tell you, my assistant agent, is we think they were bad parents this year.
Bad
Because
parents.
they were never, the parents
Okay.
with the terns and the plovers, the parents in the past have always been very protective. These poor babies. We spent a lot of time down there with these birds this year. And after the first, I feel like, week, the parents were like, see you later. The plovers got adopted by the terns because the parents were negligent. It was pretty funny, actually.
They're working hard at conservation.
That's right.
I don't know, but we fledged 2 or 3 birds out of every clutch, so that's still better than the state average,
Did the
but.
rain have an issue, make an issue out of the
Well, we
little
lost
guys?
probably some predation.
I know it's happened with the little turkeys and stuff, there's a lot less of them this year because of all that rain.
Yeah, probably.
Eggs
So what-
didn't hatch or they didn't make it.
What about Bank Street? Is it the same?
Bank Street's done,
Is
terns.
it the same, like 50% survival?
We,
there, too?
so we only had 2 nests. And we got, actually there, we had, I'm pretty sure we had 3 and 4. So that was good. I'm not sure what Audubon had. There were combined 10 nests between Witchmere, the town, and there was 1 nest on the Winstead West. So there was 10 nests of plovers and then a lot of terns on Witchmere. Even with the measures that they started this year about the raking and the deterring, they deterred them onto our property. They were, they would hatch over there and then get kind of, harassed a little bit, so, which they were permitted to do. And come over onto ours, so. It was a really long season this year, really, really long season. Because the first nests in April got wiped out, so the birds didn't re-nest till the end of May or June. By the tide. So, those are my updates.
So, one other piece of business, which is Main Street.
Oh,
We were
yes.
supposed to
Thank
visit
you.
Main Street, and that didn't happen earlier.
That is
in
my
the-
fault.
And the alternate date,
Yes.
you sent out, which was?
The 28th.
28th?
It's Monday, right?
Can we agree to do that now?
I would like to.
Anybody have a problem with Monday, the 28th, at 3:30 in the afternoon?
I can't make it that day.
I don't think I can make it, but that's all right.
What do you want to do? There are any days that are better.
Anybody care to
That week.
propose another date?
Sure.
I gotta look at my calendar.
During that week.
Yeah, I mean,
It would be nice if it's, and again, I'm sorry, about that.
Should we match up the site visit with a meeting with the Board of Selectmen? or
yeah,
is it-
so, okay, that's another bit of update, which is, at some point, I got a call from Mike McCaskill before the selectmen's meeting, but maybe it was either the Friday before or that day,
Yeah.
I forget. Saying he was canceling the joint meeting because, the tech school lawyers had come back with a list of 10 more major edits or something, and he characterized it as them finally snapping to attention or paying attention to the details.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was gonna be further discussions, and he put on hold
Yep.
whenever we would meet with them. I mean, I can request a meeting, but I don't know whether that, I think we should schedule the meeting at the bog.
Yeah.
Inform the select board and the tech school,
Mm-hmm.
and invite them, and hopefully, at least Mike would show up, and,
I think Mary Anderson was gonna go last time.
right, Mary, but also the superintendent
Yeah.
at the tech
Yep.
school. And hopefully they work through those issues. And I haven't seen that. I requested a copy. He said he was gonna send you a copy as well. But he had to talk to Mary first, and so I haven't heard from him since.
I haven't heard anything or seen anything.
I should probably touch base.
I'll check
But
my
if we-
spam, because once in a while things are still going there, and I did check that recently, but yeah, I don't see any reason why we can't schedule a meeting. Is there any day that week, that last week of August, that would work? Or even honestly at the end of next week, but I'd have to check and see if, others can go. I wouldn't want to do the beginning of next week. I just want to make sure we have time to advertise.
I can't do anything before Thursday next week. I don't know, maybe Wednesday, but Thursday afternoon or Friday afternoon I can do, or that is the 24th or the 25th. I don't know if that's better for anybody.
I'm flexible, so Alan, Wayne,
Not a-
That one's okay. Those
Jim,
dates
are you away
No, but I'm having company at that period, so I wouldn't.
that whole period? Okay.
Yeah, that whole period.
Okay.
But, I mean, don't stop doing
All right.
the site visit just because of me. If I'm the only one that can't make it, go
Okay.
ahead, I'm all right with that.
Brad, you're normally around on Fridays, right?
Yep, I'm off Cape Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday that week, but around Monday and Friday.
Why don't we make it Friday the 25th? And because you're here, can we do it can we do 2:30, Sophia,
Excuse me.
what does yours look like? 'Cause I know you work during the day too, everybody.
I could swing getting out early.
On a Friday.
I'm the
Could we do
boss.
3? Could we do 3 o'clock on that Friday, the 25th?
That worked for me.
Mark?
Yeah, sounds good.
3 o'clock?
Friday, the 25th.
And can we just agree that if, I'm just wondering about getting others there.
Yeah.
Can we take Monday as a backup?
Sure.
Okay, let's do that.
Or Alan, you can't do Monday, could you do Tuesday? Next week?
Not Tuesday either.
Okay,
The 29th,
so-
no.
Let's
Sorry.
try to make it.
We'll just
But
Friday.
you
make-
guys can do it, you know,
We'll
you
make
guys-
the backup the 28th
Okay, at 3 o'clock.
at 3. Or 3 PM, Monday, 28th. All right,
Okay. And do you want to contact Leo and just clear that?
I will contact Bob Sanborn, Leo, I'll email Mike McCaskill and Mary anyways.
Okay,
If you want to call him
Give him a
independently,
call.
but I'll send him this email about this, and I will draft I'll do a addenda, post that.
okay.
Mike, Mary, contact. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I've got a quick question for Amy.
Okay.
The Herring River study status, I haven't heard in a while, I'm not sure if I missed it, on a meeting I missed, but anything happening?
Nope, I'm hoping to get a meeting with Megan next week about the RFP.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? So the only other thing on the agenda is the minutes from the 2nd.
I have no comments.
No problem.
Same.
We made the edits that you sent.
Okay. If nobody has any comments, then I will make a motion that we approve the minutes of our meeting of August 2nd, 2023.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who
I'm
seconded?
abstaining because I wasn't here.
And with that passing, I'll make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.